20 minutes after the top of the hour, America, back with you. This is Bill Martinez live, and with us is Dr. Stephen Haymon. Always good talking with Stephen. Let me give you a little bit of his background so you know who we're talking with and why we're so honored to have Stephen on with us. He's had 38 years of experience as a psychotherapist, a consultant. He's worked with thousands of adults and children with relationship conflicts, with disorders, including mood, anxiety, chemical dependency, schizophrenia. The whole gamut. And it's a blessing to have him with us in his latest book, Stress, Climbing Out of the Pits, not by yourself, but with God. And Stephen, good to have you with us.
Good to be back with you, Bill. Really appreciate you inviting me again.
Oh, yeah. No, it's. I think this is a perfect time. I mean, as we continue to live with the reality of America as it is today, economy, the price of gas, all these different things coming at us. I mean, sometimes, Stephen, I got to tell you, I catch myself because I'm kind of an intersection and a filter for all these different venues of information that come in. And, we were just talking about being with the family, this holiday. And, when I find myself getting into conversations and I'm going, are you aware of this? Are you aware of this? And it's like, oh, my gosh, I'm just like, I can just see the kids sometimes, their eyes glaze over like, Dad, you're just overwhelming us with all this stuff, and I just wanted to have a nice, relaxing time,
Wonderful. That's what you're supposed to do. The most valuable, at least from my perspective, the most valuable time you can spend is with those that you love. And there have been research studies done on people right before they die. They're on their deathbed, and the question has been presented: if you could change anything about your life, what it is that you would do? And people on their deathbeds have always said, "I wished I had spent more time with the people that I love. Not make more money, not do more travel, not even accumulate more things. It is spend time with the people that you love."
Amen. Amen. And, and that's, that's where the rubber meets the road, and when that quality is. I know that there have been times in my life where you feel like, I could go home. I mean, I'm ready to leave. And every time those moments occur, it's not because, like you said, that you did something, great in your job or anything like that. It's a moment with your kids or with your family that you're so beyond blessed by that moment that you feel, wow, I could leave if suddenly, God said, hey, it's time to come home right this instant. You could have some sense of fulfillment and satisfaction at that moment.
I don't. Most people, Bill, they do not even think along those lines. We struggle so much to be here, and the great wise man, the great wise King Solomon said, "All this in the world is vanity, vanity, vanity." And we can accumulate things. We can go places. We can try to fill this void that God has put in us with things. But in the end, we're here only for a moment's of time, a vapor, as the Bible would describe, and then it's time for us to go. So the question is, are we really doing what we need to be doing to really be ready to leave? Mm-hmm. And so I think the greatest thing we can do, as it relates to what we advocate, is to advocate it to our family, our wives, our children, our grandchildren, in my case anyway. And then actually, Bill, you and I were talking a minute ago, and I told you I'd gone to Indiana with my sons, and they're in their 30s, and my grandson and my nephew. And so it was a weekend with a weekend of men. And so I was cherishing the time. I'm sure they were cherishing the time. I got to interact with my children, and no matter what I say, I mean, I can be blown up all over the world as this great person, but what is it that my children and my grandchildren and the people that are really close to me are saying about me? Because the telltale sign is if I'm supposed to be this man of God and I'm living in love, I'm supposed to demonstrate that love to the people that's closest to me. And if I can do that, then God is preparing me for going home.
Right, exactly. And the thing is that we can't do it without a relationship with God. We need to have that vertical and horizontal. That's why Jesus, when he was asked, what's the greatest commandment? He says, hey, love the Lord your God, with all your strength, with all your might. And the second one is similar to the first, and that's love your neighbor as yourself. And so it was, that's the Holy Grail in a nutshell. And if you don't have a relationship with God, you're not going to have the capacity in order to manage a relationship, with your family or your neighbors or your society. You're going to be void of that. And in your book, managing stress, with the power of God, stress, climbing out of the pits with God, Dr. Stephen Haymon, you say stress is a condition most people know little about until its dramatic effects take charge of their lives. And I got to tell you, Stephen, I remember one time I saw a friend of mine, and it was a doctor friend. And we're talking, and at the time I was running a radio station, and there was, lots of activity. And he asked me, he goes, Bill, do you have much stress in your life? And I said, oh, not really. I mean, I'm okay. And he goes, well, tell me about your day. I said, well, I usually get up about 4 a.m. I go down to, the club and, work out. And then I, get cleaned up, and then I jump on a train. And, I take the train into Los Angeles because that's where the radio station is. And he goes, well, are you making, are you just there? Is it quiet time on the plane? I go, oh, no. On the train, I'm working. I'm getting prepared for my day, or I'm taking phone calls. And then I get in the office usually by, about 8:15. And then I, prepare the rest of my day. And then I've got staff coming in and the whole deal. And I'm just there at that point. And he says, stop. What do you mean you don't have stress? He goes, you're giving me a heart attack right now. And that's what happens, to your point in your book, is that it's all so subtle that we don't even realize. I mean, we know there's good stress and bad stress, but sometimes we can just get to that point where, our cup runneth over with stress, huh?
Yeah, and Bill, I want to address that, what you just said, but I need to go back to something you said previously before the entree into that last statement about stress and how it can overwhelm us, but it's an undercurrent. Let me go. You said to love God with all your heart, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. And most of us are walking around, and we say we're Christians, and we say, well, that's Christ-like. Well, let's talk about what Christ-like is. First of all, we don't walk on water. We don't heal the sick. We don't raise people from the dead. So when we said we're Christians, we're really talking about servants of God. And the question, the commandment, because there's only 2 commandments as it relates to this dispensation of time. I'm talking about the New Testament church, and that is to love God with everything we have. Well, that's a subservient. No, that's a different mindset. That's serving the entity that is great. But we have to learn how to love that, and we don't do that from a natural perspective. It has to be done from a spiritual perspective. As God is teaching us to love Him, we end up learning how to love ourselves. And so we begin to value what God has put in us, and then it's easier to love our neighbors, our children, our the people we work with. So there is a consistency as it relates. So we have to do, as you said, we have to do the vertical before we do the horizontal.
Right. Well, Dr. Stephen Haymon is with us, and we've got more with Steve. Stay with us right here on Bill Martinez Live.